Hello, hello! I'm going to be playing some more of A Place Unknown today. Continue the story from last time. To recap, the sun is missing, I made friends with Bigfoot, and I found some really interesting stuff. Oh, and my house is gone. Okay, so the next day, three things happen. It is the Jack of Hearts, the Four of Clubs, and the Five of Diamonds. Oh, and you can find this at heavymoons.itch.io, and I'll put that in the link below. But Jack of Hearts, I encounter nothing. That's kind of good. Except for we're searching for these notes to a scary place. Four of Clubs. We look for wild animals. Me and John go hunting. Five of Diamonds. You find a disturbing comic book. Me and John are out looking for any sort of sustenance. And we look for wild animals, we look for plants, we find nothing except for a very disturbing comic book that actually depicts John and I doing this same thing. The last half of it is blank, as if it's still being written. And so, John and I make shelter for the night. Thank goodness for Bigfoot John. Five things happen the following day. The sun is still missing. I love it. Okay, the Seven of Hearts, encounter a new life form. King of Spades, see a shooting star. Two of Hearts, you encounter nothing. Eight of Diamonds, you find old documents about aliens. Okay. Okay. And the Five of Hearts, you encounter a strange person. Very, very busy day. John and I go out looking for this scary place. And while we don't find exactly what we're looking for, we find some old documents about aliens. And it turns out they don't look like aliens in Hollywood, like, at all. They can camouflage themselves to blend in with humankind. And even some of the pets that humans have. Nothing happens while we're reading these documents, but as we're leaving and heading back to John's house, we see a shooting star, and then just through the trees, we see two life forms. One looks definitely humanoid. With this newfound information we have about aliens, I can no longer trust anybody that they are actually human. They're walking towards the direction that John and I are coming from. They're headed right for us. Basically, we walk through them. They don't acknowledge that we're there at all. They act like they can't even see us. And so I start questioning planes of existence, like, am I even in the same place that I have lived my whole life? Did going back through that portal take me to somewhere else? I am just thoroughly befuddled. I go to bed that night, pondering the events of the day, really wondering if there'll ever be an end to this. Will things ever go back to normal? And 6 things happen the following day. So that kind of answers my question. I don't think things are going to go back to normal. The Three of Spades, you see odd smoke rising from the ground. The King of Clubs, you start to daydream about aliens. The Four of Diamonds, you find a locked box. I will do the instructions on that in a little bit. The Queen of Clubs, you sing a made-up song in your head. Wonderful. You find a diamond ring. And you encounter a spider. John and I set out looking for food, water, any sort of answers that we can find. And we both see some green smoke rising from the ground. And there's nothing natural that should cause green smoke that I could think of. And John didn't think so either. He was like, that's very strange. While we're looking around, I'm daydreaming about aliens. I'm trying to think about what forms they have. How many different forms do they have? Are they actually here for any sort of malicious reason? Are they here to help us with our economical and environmental crises? My head's just swarming with thoughts about all the potential things that could happen with the aliens. I come across this locked box and a diamond ring right next to it, which is pretty strange. I would think that the locked box would contain the diamond ring, but it didn't. I opened the box, I broke the lock, and found some unpleasant things. I find some sort of rotting flesh, undiscernible, it's all mangled. I just dropped the box and walked away. I try to like sing a song to soothe myself, but no songs come to my head, so I'm like, it's okay, it's alright, everything will be okay. I don't know what that was, but I cannot think of it anymore. There's no amount of therapy that would ever help, and I don't know what this is, my own loving hell. And something along those lines. And then I come across this massive spider, who thank goodness was friendly. But I'm still like, are you an alien? Because we don't normally have spiders that big, but she seems pretty elderly. Gives off grandma vibes. And lets John and I stay for the night in her home. She has a quaint little cottage. We tried to pay her, and she says, your money's no good here. And so we get a restful, or not so restful, night's sleep. Being in an unfamiliar place with unfamiliar person, spider. But John and I leave the next day. I love this. I'm just adventuring with Bigfoot. And the 9 of Hearts is the first thing that happens that day. You encounter a witch. Roll a d6. 3. She attacks you. So, this witch I come across attacks me. Let's see what the other cards are, just to see if they'll help the story narrative. The 10 of Diamonds. You find a board game. The 7 of Spades. You see an angel. And the 10 of Clubs. You do nothing. So, this witch attacks me, and I don't see her as a witch. I see her as an angel. And I'm sitting there just like, am I alive? Is this the afterlife? And as I'm thinking that, I'm knocked out of my thoughts because these gnarly claws dig into my flesh. And I feel like my heart is being ripped out. And, if it weren't for John, I probably wouldn't be here. But thankfully, John is very, very strong and fast. Definitely has better senses than me and quicker reflexes. John took care of that witch before I lost my heart. And looking at the wound now, it's not as deep as it felt. It looks like just little more than a scratch. but I can't I can't get past the feeling of your heart being ripped out of your chest. John stays very close to me the rest of the day, making sure I'm okay. And we find an old board game. It was Clue. John and I find shelter, make shelter for the night. And we'll continue our adventure on the next day. Maybe play some Clue, see who done it. 4 things happen the following day. I'm very glad that John's adventuring with me. I feel much safer with him by my side. Okay, 8 of clubs. You take in the sights and smells. 8 of hearts. You encounter a shadow person. 5 of spades. You feel a vibration in the air. And the 6 of clubs. You explore the road further. John and I set off down the road, and we continue to look around, write down our surroundings, talk a little bit about aliens. Where do you think the sun's gone? We talked about John's family a little bit. He's got a brother and 2 sisters. He is quite spry and young for a Sam Squanch. So, this vibration is in the air, and John and I both feel it. We stop at the exact same time as soon as this vibration starts happening. And we look at each other, and we look back in front of us and see nothing. So we look behind us, and we see this shadow form. And it looks like me, but how could that be? Like, why? Why would I be a shadow person here? That can't be me. And so I try to wrap my head around that, and John just puts his arm around me and ushers me forward, basically. Like, we need to continue. This is not something that we need to engage with. We need to get away from it as quick as possible. And try not to think about it. You can't let that thing infiltrate your brain. And so, with those words of wisdom, we continue off down the road, pretty much in silence for the rest of the day. We continue until we can't stand to stay awake anymore. We create a shelter, go to sleep, and 2 things happen the following day. We encounter a magical creature and a strange mist. So we're continuing on down this road, maybe veering off just a little bit, but never straying too far from the road because it would not be smart to not be able to find our way back. And we come across this magical creature. Thank goodness it's not the gorilla snake bird fish. Because I don't know how I'd feel about that. But this strange mist appears upon the road. And it's incredibly dense. So much that my clothes now feel wet as I'm walking through it. You can see John just standing on edge. All of the hair standing straight up. Definitely on alert. And we come across this, like, think of the fairies in the springs in Legend of Zelda. Very similar to that. She provides us with some berries and fresh water and just a little bit of encouraging words like, you're doing a good job, you're well on your way to thwarting the evil in this world, or something like that. And she provides us respite for the night. She says, I will watch over you as you sleep and ensure nothing happens to you. And I don't know if it's because everything has been absolutely backwards from life as I have known it, that I just trusted her. Like, just the aura that surrounded her, I felt safe. So I stayed the night. And 4 things happen the last day of my adventure with John. The Ace of Hearts, you encounter a ghost. You encounter a ghost who is very shy. The King of Diamonds, you find trash. Wonderful. The 7 of Diamonds, you find nothing. And the Ace of Diamonds, you find a hatch that leads underground. Okay. So, this incredibly shy ghost appears on the road in front of us. Like, pretty close to first thing in the morning. We hadn't been on the road 10 minutes. And we see this ghost, and I call out to it. I'm like, hey, are you okay? What are you doing here? And it just shies away, looks up, and then back down, and walks off into the woods just a little bit, probably 10, 15 feet, and then stops and looks at me and John. And so, not quite sure what to do, John and I follow the ghost. I mean, what else are we supposed to do? Maybe this ghost will give us a clue as to what is happening here. And why things are the way they are. We definitely find some trash through the woods, like, nobody's been in here to clean anything up in a long time, and we continue to follow this ghost, who continues to just walk a few feet, look back. As soon as we walk forward, the ghost continues along this path. And it's like they want to show us something, but we can't quite figure out what. And then eventually, the ghost just disappears. We go and investigate where it disappeared, and we find a hatch that leads underground. Underground, we find money. I'm not sure how that's going to help us in this instance, but at least now, if John and I have to pay for anything, we'll have some money. I continue to adventure with Bigfoot. But that's where this journal ends. Hope you have a beautiful day. Don't forget to be nice to people. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.